mastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We'll chant all mantras so far. Let's see. Eshavasyopanishat sarvam yatkinchit jagatyam jagat tena taktena bunditaha ma gridhakasya svidhanam Kurvanneveha karmani Vishetchatagam samaha Evam tvai nanyatetosti Na karma lipyate nare Ya namate lokaha Ante tamasavritaha Tagamste pretyabhigachanti Yeke chatmahano janaha So we have two very ancient philosophical traditions which are represented in the first two verses. One is the tradition of Jnana, the path of Jnana, and the other is the path of Karma. Karma and Bhakti fit in one. Because if you are doing in Karma Yoga, if you are doing all your activities and you are surrendering it, offering it to Ishvara, that is with devotion. So Karma and Bhakti fit into one actually, and Jnana is on one side. So in the first verse, Jnana Marg, which is predominantly contemplation, reflection, study, meditation, that kind of thing. And second verse, Karma Marg or Bhakti Marg also, doing where the work becomes worship. That is Karma and Bhakti coming one. Then, in the third verse it says, those who do not follow this path, they are Atmahanaha. Atmahanaha means those who slay the self. You cannot slay the self, that is figuratively speaking. You know, like for example, space is all pervasive, right? But many times we hear, we are wasting space. How you can waste space? That is only from a relative point of view, a manner of saying that you are wasting space. You have all of this space, you are doing nothing. You are wasting space. What wasting space? You will be gone and that space will still be there. Before you came it was there. You cannot waste space. But that's just a view, a point of view, a way of looking. So here Atmahanaha means this self which is there in everybody, it is enveloped in this body, mind and intellect, shredded as though, covered up. As though. So if a person doesn't work and strive and do sadhana to free that self, he is called as Atma Hanaha. And see, first verse he can strive through Jnana Yoga, second verse he can strive through Karma Yoga. If he doesn't do any of this, that's why third verse now Atma Hanaha. So that person goes to Asuryanamate Lokaha Antena Tamasavritaha. He goes to darker and darker worlds. Meaning to say, instead of is life evolving, it devolves, it gets worse, it goes into, means in this life itself, he will get more and more sorrow, more and more he'll slip into tamasic mode of living, more cynical, more pessimistic, more all that kind of thing. There are many people, I was telling you about that 94-year-old gentleman I met. At 94, he's looking up. This world there's a transformation going on, Swamiji. Things are getting better. I see the birds are looking better with greater colors. The flowers, I used to never see those flowers long ago. Nowadays, I've seen such wonderful flowers. Everything is changing, and he's optimistic at 94. And many people, as they get older, they get pessimistic. I don't know what will happen to this world. All such bad things are happening everywhere. It's getting worse and worse. When I was young, it was so good. Now it has become so bad. He's going the other way. So this man is looking up. So Asuryate Nama Lokaha means when they go to darker worlds, that can be interpreted in this life itself. His mind gets more and more pessimistic, more and more dreary, and he has a gloomy, dismal outlook. Because he is only engaged in worldliness. He has never performed any such sadhana in Jnana Yoga, any sadhana in Karma Yoga. So, first meaning is here itself, his mind goes into a gloomy and dismal, dreary mood as he proceeds. Then, when he leaves this world, well, you know how I told you, in our Shastra, Ananta Koti Brahmanda is described. How many countless universes are there? Now, all will not be like ours. Some will be where there is more sorrow, some will be there where there is more joy, like Swarga. A lot of Ananda, joy only is there. Enjoyment. And in the Taittiriya Upanishad it is described in Swarga. If you eat an ice cream here, you get 1 cubit of joy. That same ice cream, if you eat in Swarga, you will get 100 cubit. 100 times more that joy will, or 1,000 times, whatever, it depends on whatever you are enjoying. So better wait to eat ice cream when you go there. So some lokas are like that, so much joy. Then some lokas, sorrow like Kumbhi Paka. One loka is described Kumbhi Paka in Purana. Means this boiling ghee. When you go there, they'll hold you and dip you in that boiling ghee and take you up. And then ask, how about that? See, all the terrible things, worlds are described, Ananta Koti Brahmanda. So he goes to some world that is worse than where he is. Asuryate Nama Lokaha. And Dena Tamasavritaha. Covered by darkness. Everything is gloom and everything is there. Suffering and misery and pessimism, and it goes to that type of world. Because since there are countless worlds, you will have different grades. So, such a person who is Atmahana, he goes to that world. Now, there are 3 separate verses. You'll see Gurudev says in his commentary there. The Upanishad given different waves. So the first verse is a wave by itself. Second verse a wave by itself. Third verse also a wave by itself. Now 4th verse to about 7 or so all belong to one wave. What are they doing? They are describing self, describing Atma. Now, in Bhagavad Gita itself and in throughout the Upanishad, it is said this self is anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means what? You really can't say anything about this self. Because anything you say, it is wrong. How you'll say? Because that's an infinite reality and you're using finite words and finite thoughts to describe an infinite reality. So anything you say, it will be wrong. But one good thing, Gurudev used to say, just like we use the finger to point to the moon, if you look at the finger, you will not see the moon. You have to look where the finger is pointing. But finger is not moon, but it can be used to point to the moon. In the very same way, the words are not Brahman, they are not reality, Atma or anything. but they are used as pointers to point to Atma. So even though it's not describing Atma, they are pointers to Atma. So if the mind follows those words, the mind may reach Atma. So in the next few verses, several words describing the Atma. And many times the rishis have no choice but to describe the Atma in contradictory terms. It moves. It doesn't move. What do you mean it moves? It doesn't move. Two contradictory things, isn't it? Let us see this. This is verse number 4 now. Mantra number 4.
Page 93.
93. Anejadekam manasojaviyah
Anejadekam manasojaviyah
Naina deva apnuvan purvamarshat
Naina deva apnuvan purvamarshat
Tadhavato nyanatyeti tishtat Tasminnapo matarishwadhathati Anejat ekam manasaha javiya. That Atma, self, is anejat. Anejat means, in Sanskrit there is a root called E. E is small one E. That E means to go. So, Ajat means, Ajat is a form of that root. Ajat. Ajat means goes. It goes, it moves. Ajat. Here, Anejat. That is opposite of Upasarga coming in front. Anejat. Self doesn't go anywhere. It is stationary. It is still. That's why I say meditate on stillness. Meditate on quietude. Because there is no movement. In quietude there is nothing moving. There is no movement. Achalam in the Gita it is described in other places. Achalam means doesn't go. It is all pervasive. It will go from where to where. If already it is there everywhere, how self will? Existence is there everywhere already. Existence doesn't have to go from anywhere to because this space exists or not. The air exists, the space exists, everything exists. So existence cannot go anywhere. Where it will go? That will be like saying, one wave moved from the South Pole and went to the North Pole. But the water which is there in South Pole is H2O. And the water which is there in North Pole is H2O. So if one wave moved from the South Pole and went to the North Pole, how you will distinguish that? Because there is H2O and here he is H2O. And there is H2O everywhere. How you will know this is the wave that came? You can't know. So it is useless to say. It's in that case, it is still we are talking about something physical, that this wave moved from there and went to there. But see this self, which is indistinguishable, one uniform reality, which is all pervasive. It really cannot move from anywhere to go anywhere. It is one. It is existing in all places at all times, and it doesn't move anywhere. Then anejat. Now see the next word says ekam. It is one. No, this next word itself. In same verse. Next word is ekam. Ekam means it is one. The self is not two or doesn't have any duality in the self. Existence is existence. See, like for example, this piece of space here, right? And this piece of space here. How can you distinguish the two? You can't. Every quality of space here is the same quality of space here. In fact, they are both one and same. Ekam, the self, pure existence, whether it is existence here, existence on Mars, existence on Pluto, existence wherever, existence is same one existence. Ekam. There is no second existence. Just pure ekam. Manasaha javiyaha. Now just now it was say it doesn't move. Here you see, it is faster than the mind. If it is faster than the mind, the mind moves now. See, our mind 1 minute is here, next minute Australia. 1 minute here, next minute Canada. The mind keeps going. So this is faster than the mind. So now it seems to tell that it is moving. Because just now you said it doesn't move. Now you're saying it is faster than the mind. But if you are saying faster, that means it is moving. So that is not the meaning. It is to be understood like this. When we say faster than the mind, we mean to say, look here. Now my mind is here, and if my mind moves to Australia in a second, it means when it gets to Australia, the self is already there. Brahman, God is already there. That is the meaning of faster. It means before the mind could ever reach there, that self is already there. You know, like that. In that, I'm sure all of you would have seen on that television, there used to be one show called that Road Runner and Coyote. Huh? And that Road Runner is going beep beep, beep beep. And that coyote is always planned to catch him. Huh? So then sometimes you see that Road Runner, that coyote is thinking, I will wait over there for him. But when he gets there, this fellow is already there. Huh? And like that is. Faster, it means to say, if this mind goes any place in this cosmos, that self is already there. Then that means self is faster. Because of its all-pervasiveness, it is faster. Wherever you can go, self will already be there. That is an amazing thing. Wherever you go on this earth, self is there. And that self is like Indian people. Correct or not? Yeah. Wherever I have been, Peru, South America, anywhere you go, Indian people is. Indian people faster than the mind. Okay, so Manasaha Javiyaha means swifter, faster than it means it doesn't have to run there. It is already there. Then the next Na etad devaha apnuman purva marshat. And this is explained, the same meaning is explained in this line. What it means? Devaha means senses or sense organs. Deva is not to be taken as gods and all that in Upanishads and all. Deva means senses. Div, to shine. You know, like our senses, they shine. It means to say, really, only because the senses are alive and shining that we know this thing is there. That, like for example, here the book is orange color, right? Now, if I close my eyes, there is no knowledge of any color, isn't it? If my eyes were closed, how would I know what color? You can't tell. But when I open my eyes, that is the last act in a process of this color revealing itself. See, my eyes closed, light is falling, it is reflecting, so that whole process is going on. But one part of the process is missing, isn't it? That part, the last part of the process, I have to open. When I open, see, life is not there in the light, life is not there in the book, but life is there in my eye. So that last part of the process is actually enlivening the whole process. The life or the consciousness is there in the eye. Now see, dead man, if you open his eye and you put the book, what do you know? Nothing. So eye is there, light is there, book is there, everything is there, but you will not see. Any consciousness is not there. So that consciousness is functioning through this eye. So that is the last part of the process for knowledge of the book to take place. And orange color, ha ha ha, like that. We see. So these senses, they are You see, div means to shine, to enlighten. Div also means divine. So from a div, deva has come. Div in Sanskrit. Div, deva has come. And this all our senses, they are the ones that actually we, through our five senses, we and live in this world, you know. We animate the world through the five senses. You just think, if we had no eyes, one sense organ we take away, then all colors will be gone, because then there will be no such thing as color if we had no eyes. If we had no ears, there will be no such thing as sound. There being there and not being there will be one and same. Yeah. So one fifth of the universe will go if we take away eyes. If you take away ears, another 1/5 goes. Can you imagine this thing? So it is our senses which actually animate and live in this world, because the senses themselves are enlivened by consciousness. So those senses are called as deva. This is how these senses are called deva. So he says the self is faster than the devas also, because by the time the sense organ reaches there, so just now by the time the mind reaches there, the self is already there. Well, same thing for the senses, you know. If I turn my eyes from here and I'm looking at this, some mountains are here, and I turn my eyes from there and I want to look at the ocean which is over there. By the time my eyes reach there, the self is already there. So mind and senses, the two lines are meant for that. Yeah, faster than the mind and senses, because our senses are also very fast. Then tadhavataha anyan atyeti tishtat. And any other thing or anybody who is running, any other being or anything that is running, see here, mind is running, senses are running, right? But any anyan is any other that is running, he is faster than that also. If you find any other thing running, Ganga is running from Gomukh to Bay of Bengal. By the time Ganga reaches there, self is already. It supersedes, passes all things that are moving in this universe. Tasmin apaha, tasmin apa matarishwadadati. And it also is faster than water and wind and everything. And not only that, the dhati means it supports all the elements. So two elements are given here, but what is meant is all elements. Yeah? The water is given and wind is given. It supports all the elements. The self supports all the elements. Space, air, fire, water and earth. Not only that, these elements, they support us. This body, you know, science tells this body 70-80% water. So the element supports us. Space, this body is made up of space, air, fire, water. They can support only because they themselves are supported by self. God supports the element and the element supports us. If there was no support for the, you see, one Mahatma was telling that it is self which is supporting everything in the world. Because the self supports space, air, fire, water, earth, and then that supports us. The one Amma was sitting, old Amma, she was sitting there. She said, "Arey Mahatma, you don't know. This world is supported on an elephant's back." So that Mahatma said, "Then what is the elephant supported on?" She said, "Well, that elephant is standing on a turtle." Then what is that turtle standing on? She said, "That turtle is standing on another turtle." Then what is that second turtle standing on? She said, "This turtle is all the way down." But that's a very simplistic way of seeing. When we talk about support, the clay pot is supported by clay. Means the pot shape is supported by clay. So this universe is supported by That's self, existence. Everything is supported by it. The building block is existence. In the case of clay, you can actually see the particles of clay, right? But existence is the most subtle, is the subtlest thing in the universe. So you really can't see it. But you know it is there because you say it exists or not. It exists. The space exists or not. Everything exists. Very, very subtle thing. So the self is being described in what we call as contradictory terms in these verses. See here again. Tadejati tannejati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyataha. So the self is tadejati tannejati. The self moves and it doesn't move. You know, it is only because moves means what? Now see, it is totally contradictory. How the self moves and doesn't move. When the self is manifested as this universe, but this universe is moving or not? The self is manifest as this universe, na? Where the universe? Yeah, last night we saw Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Eshavasyopanishat Sarvam. Here only it told. Everything is self. So, as a manifested universe, it is moving because everything is moving. See, every electron is moving. But let me tell you one more thing. You do not think that contradictory things cannot exist together. The way we are taught in schools, our mind is closed off to certain possibilities. The education system is designed to close off our mind from certain things, you know. There can be contradictory things which you may think is not possible to exist together, but they exist together all the time. The world is actually a world of contradiction. So an atom must have a positive and a negative, and they stay together. Therefore this world has, you know, poverty and affluence. This world has health and disease. This world has joy and sorrow. And you know, some people can experience both at the same time. Joy and sorrow at the same time. It's in Sundarkand of Ramayana. Meghnad releases the Brahmastra and conquers Hanumanji. Hanumanji, of course, allowed himself to be conquered. And they break because he had just burned down, not burned down, started tearing up this forest and all that, and Eshavasyopanishat. So they attacked him, Hanumanji, and they caught him finally and brought him to Ravan's palace. In one doha, Ravan laughs out, "We have caught this monkey, we caught him." So he's joyous. In the same doha, and in the next line of the same doha, but he was miserable at the same time. Right? Because Hanuman had just killed his younger son. So when he remembered Hanuman killed his younger son, he was miserable. And when he remembered, well, we conquered the monkey, he was happy. Happy and joy at the same time. Sometimes you see people crying out of tears of happiness. Have you seen? You don't know if to cry out? I tell you, look here. You see some more things. Contradictory things existing at one and the same time. Can you walk north and south at the same time? North and south at the same time. You can. See here. Suppose a train is going north and you are standing on that train and you are walking back. Which side are you going? Which side are you going now? North and south same time, isn't it? Amazing thing. I tell you, one bucket of water is there, right? That bucket of water can be cool and warm at the same time. What you do, You put that bucket of water between your fridge and your stove, right? You stand in the middle, light the stove, open the freezer section of the fridge. You put this hand over the lighted stove and you put this hand into the freezer and you keep it for 1 minute, right? You pull out both hands and put it in the bucket. That water will feel warm to this hand which came out from the freezer, and to this hand which came out from the stove, that water will feel cool. Same bucket of water, same time. It will feel cool and warm at the same time. That is the relativity of the world. The relativity of the world, there will be joy and sorrow, happiness and misery, there will be health and disease. All things exist simultaneously at one and the same time. So Bhagavan also has made the whole manifestation like that. The whole manifestations seem to be moving. See, look this thing. They're moving. Is what is moving? No. Oh, why moving? It is there sitting there only. Not moving. But do you know, if you start thinking, this watch is moving in 5 directions at the same time, then we don't see it. See, this watch is sitting on the earth. So the earth is going around the sun. That is one direction. Earth is turning on its own axis. That is second direction. I see this watch is sitting on the earth. It is also following all the same direction, isn't it? At the same time, the earth is tilting from northern solstice to southern solstice. Then third direction it is going. Then this earth belongs to our solar system. That solar system belongs to a bigger system, and it is moving in that system. And then that whole thing belongs to the Milky Way. And the whole Milky Way is 5 right there. Then if you look into this watch, it is made up of atoms. All the atoms are vibrating at their own frequency. The 6. How you say it's not moving? From one standpoint, it is not moving. From another standpoint, it is moving in so many. It means to say, movement and no movement, they exist at one and the same time. So what even from an ordinary standpoint, we can see that. So what you're talking about when I say here, the Rishi say in this Upanishad, the self moves and it doesn't move. As a manifested universe, self is moving. One more thing. You know, the sum total of the movement really adds up to nothing in the end. Nothing has really. Like for example, no matter how many waves, how many froth and bubbles and this and that in the ocean, in the end, after a million years of movement, what has happened to the ocean? Nothing. Still, because where the water will go? It can't go. It will stay in the Earth's atmosphere. Again, it will go back down to the ocean. Really, after a million years of movement of the ocean, what has changed? Nothing. In the sum total, in the end, nothing has happened. So any movement you see of the manifestation also, in the end, all of this movement has taken place, and in the end, nothing has happened really. So the self is moving, ejati tan nejati. It moves and it doesn't move, depending on how you are looking. But the important thing to remember, no change has taken place in this self. Though it is moved for billions and billions of years, nothing has changed. The same self, unchanging it is. Abdeha, it is called in the Sanskrit language. So, tad ejati, tad nejati, tad dure, tad vadke. Tadu antike means it is far, and it is also near. The self is the closest thing to us. There is nothing closer than the self. Because the self is our own self. That Brahman is our own self. So it's the closest thing. And then also it is all pervasive, infinite. So it is the furthest thing also. So these are the words which are being used. It is Tat Antarasya sarvasya tat u sarvasyasya bahyataha. It is inside everything and also outside everything. All these type of words are being used. Inside as well as outside. It means to say that it is really everything. When we say that the self is all pervasive, inside, outside, near, far, you know the logical conclusion of such a statement is that the self is everything. If you just follow that statement, it is inside, outside, because it will be inside every atom, it will be inside every electron, proton, neutron, it will be inside every bit of space, it is inside everything. The logical conclusion there is, it is everything. If it is inside, and you go to every part of that thing, and the self is inside that, then finally you have to say, well, the self is everything. That's why just now it's an ekam. There is only one thing. This universe only has one thing actually. You may see many things, but that is okay. You know, like when you go in a potter's shop, I don't know if you have been, but in Trinidad we have several of them. They take this big clump of clay and they are making little diyas, lamps and pots and plate and this and that. They will make little elephants, dog, everything. But so when you go to a shop, you see so many items made from clay. So from one point of view, there is a multiplicity. There's a diversity because a dog, cat, plate, pot, pan, cup, this, that, right? Multiplicity. But from another point of view, there is only one thing in that shop really. Clay. So it depends on how you want to look. So you want to look at all the multiplicity there, or you overlook the multiplicity and see the one unifying thing in that shop. Everything is made from the same clay. So that is this universe is like that also. It depends on how you want to look at this universe. You want to look at this universe as, the diversity, or you want to look at this universe as everything made up from the same existence. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of looking in whichever way you want to look. The best thing is to understand both. Then only you will enjoy, isn't it? Because if you go there and you're only looking at the clay in that shop, you will be bored in 1 minute. Because all you are seeing is clay. Oh, what is interesting about clay? Nothing interesting, isn't it? But if you start looking at the different, this elephant, very good. The one who made it, his hands are very steady because there's perfect symmetry in this elephant. So now you get some entertainment, isn't it? Or what dog? I think his son may have made this dog because this dog, his tail is bigger than his head. Yeah? and a dog's tail doesn't be bigger than head, isn't it? So that little boy may have made this. He doesn't know how to make. So you start getting entertainment. But if you only look at clay, boring, isn't it? So there's advantage and disadvantage. So now in this world, if you start looking at all the diversity with the right attitude, you can enjoy the world. The right attitude, understanding that everything still is made up of pure existence. So you have to have that vision also. But if you forget about existence now and you're looking at the diversity in this world, you'll get a lot of sorrow because this world has too much sorrow. What you will see, everything in the world dying first, the first rule. Everything in this world. See, in this world, we are living or dying. I tell you, about living we are not so sure. Because people vegetate also. They say he is vegetating. It's better to meditate, but he is vegetating. Right? So we don't know if he is living. But about dying, we are sure that everything is dying. Now when we start looking at this world, we forget about Brahman and all that, right? We start just looking at the world. It will bring a lot of sorrow actually. And suffering, disease, pain, misery, anguish, disappointment, all sorts of things. This world is full of it. But if we have the right vision of this, well, it is all existence, and it is in the end, the sum total really, what has happened? Nothing has happened. Same amount of existence is there, infinite, and it has not changed for billions and trillions of years. It's still same. So we have to understand that such when we say such contradictory things, it is possible, first thing. Second thing, when we say that Lord pervades everything, He is inside, He is outside, we mean to say the logical extension of that statement is not that He just pervades or He's inside, outside. He is everything. The reality is everything. The reality is this whole universe. Otherwise, people have misunderstanding. I once asked a Muslim fella, look here, where is your Allah? He said, Allah is everywhere. I said, oh. You mean Allah is all pervasive? I tell you. This is how people's mind has gaps. Some parts missing. Allah is everywhere? Yes. Okay, Allah is in toilet? Inside toilet bowl? Now you start thinking. And this is what religion does to spirituality. This religion tells you should not make Allah as, you should not defile Allah. You can't defile Allah. So now you start getting doubtful. So Allah is in toilet. No, you can't say that. You can't say Allah. Then Allah is missing in the toilet. Yes. Allah. Then how? Just now you told He is all pervasive. So now He's not all pervasive. Well, He's all pervasive where there is nothing already. Means, like here there is my hand and here there is my hand, but in between there is nothing. So He is there, but He is not where my hand is. Then you cannot say that He is all pervasive, because my hand is taking up this space and my hand is taking up this space. So my hand has already taken that space, so Allah cannot take that space. So that is His understanding. So wherever there is empty space, only there He is there. But the space is taking up that space. You start thinking now. So already everything is taken up. So where is space for Allah now? People have a lot of wrong ideas and understanding in their head, and they walk around. We say no, whatever you may consider in this world to be good, medium, evil, whatever, the Lord pervades everything. He pervades the cobra as much as He pervades your little nice teddy bear. He pervades every single thing. He pervades the dirty drain as much as He pervades the Ganga. Every single thing. Because that dirty drain is only dirty in your mind. You go down there and you ask all those bacteria living inside there, hey, you are living in a dirty drain. They say, what dirty drain? This is Swarga. Correct or not? Huh? Those bacteria living in there, those guys are in Swarga. That is only dirty from your perspective. Anything which you may call dirty, they are made up of the same elements that your body is made up of. That dirty drain is every element which is found there is also in your body, because the periodic table is constant, isn't it? The number of elements in that periodic table is same. The elements that we have on Earth. So same elements you will find in the drain, same elements you find in your body. Oh, how you came up with dirty? All perspective only. Yeah. So the people walk around with all sorts of things in their head. No, that Allah can't be there. You defile Allah if you say that. That means you have a limited concept of Allah. He is present in some places and not present in other places. Then if He is not present in other places, how will you know what is going on there? Then if He he doesn't know what is going on there, that means he is not omniscient also. So he is not all pervasive, he is not omniscient. If he is not all pervasive, that means he is not all powerful also. Because some things can happen which he has no control over, that is going on there. That means he is not all powerful. So like this, when you hold contradictory ideas in your mind about God, then you limit God. You have no power to limit God. That's why that becomes belief. I believe God is like this. I believe God is like that. But you cannot believe God to have any limitation. In Christian, people say God took avatar only one time, and that's the end of it. How you can speak for God? He took avatar 1,000,000 times and he can take 1,000,000 times, and if he doesn't want, he will not take also. You can't speak for God. He will do as he pleases and all. He took avatar only once. So this Lord, this reality, Brahman, is everything, all pervasive, infinite, omniscient, all powerful, all knowing, like that. And we can't take away from that. So when we say that he is inside and he is outside, we mean by logical extension, he is everything in this universe. Not that he is in the empty space between two things. He is that thing also. Sarvabhute, now that is continued in next. See these verses. That is in Bhagavad Gita, in the introduction, which is called Gita Dhyanam. There is a verse which I am sure you would have heard. Sarvopanishado gavo dugdha gopal nandana partho vatsasudhir bhokta dugdham gidamritam mahat. There, Sarvopanishado gavo. All the Upanishads are the cows. The cow. And Bhagavan Shri Krishna is the milk man. Dugdha Gopalanandana. Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta. And Arjuna is the one who is drinking the milk. Bhagavan is milking, and Arjuna is drinking that milk. So it means to say this Bhagavad Gita is the milk, and the Upanishads is the cow. The Upanishad, all Upanishad. In other words, in the Bhagavad Gita, all the verses are taken there, the ideas and verses, they are taken from Upanishads only. In the Gita. Sometimes some verses are taken verbatim from Upanishad, it ends up in Gita. In other words, Bhagavan is plagiarized. But one good thing, he plagiarized his own work only. Because he himself has given this Upanishad, he himself has given Gita. So a person is allowed to plagiarize his own work. So here, this next verse is plagiarized in chapter 6 of Gita. See? Now see this. Almost literal, almost verbatim. Not every word, the last part is a little different. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. So it says Yahatu sarvani bhutani atmani eva anupashyati. That person who sees in the Atma, Atmani eva. What? Sarvani bhutani. He sees all beings as existing in Atma, existing in self, existing in God. And in the next line, Sarva bhuteshu cha atmani. And in all beings, he sees the Atma. There are two ways of seeing. In the first one, he sees all beings and all things as existing in the Atma. And the second way, the Atma is existing in all things. He says that person, na vijugupsate. Na vijugupsate means he doesn't hate anything, despise, dislike, shun. All the meaning. Because He sees God in me, and he sees me in God. Just now we were telling the same thing. We were telling everything really is God. God is there in me, God is there in you, God is there in everything. And all of us are in God also. Like for example, pot shape. The pot shape. So the clay is there in that shape. And that shape is there in the clay also. The only difference is one is dependent and one is independent. So that shape of the pot is dependent on the clay, because if there is no clay, where there will be shape? Shape cannot exist in space, isn't it? So the shape is dependent on the clay, but clay doesn't depend on any shape. That clay could exist without that shape, isn't it? The clay you put as a clump here. In the very same way now, all these forms which we see in this world, they are dependent on God. But God is dependent on no form. So that's why we say God is at the same time with form and without form. He is Sakar and Nirakar. Have you heard? Bhagavan is Sakar and Nirakar at one and the same time. So as when we look at this universe, it's Sakar. Because Bhagavan has taken form as this universe. And if we look beyond the forms, we'll see that he is really Nirakar. Because he doesn't depend on this form for his existence. We may depend, but Bhagavan doesn't depend on any form for his existence. He can exist without form. Just like the clay can exist without form of body. So one who can really see now in all of these forms in front of him, pure existence. And he can see that all of these forms, they require existence for their support. In the forms, see the existence. And from the other way now we're looking, all of these forms, they require existence for their support actually. So they are resting, sleeping in existence. If their existence was not there, their forms will have no place to sleep, no place to be. If clay was not there, pot shape would have had no place to be. You see? This is the most wonderful verse. Actually, Bhagavan repeats this thing twice in Gita. He likes this verse so much. 2 times he speaks about the same idea in Bhagavad Gita. Now, when that understanding is there, he says, Na vijugupsate, such a person, because I will see, here is God, this space is God, there is God, everywhere is God. What we will shun, what we will avoid, what we will hate, what we will dislike. You cannot dislike anything because everything is same one. See, like, if you travel to some country in Europe, right, and you see all of these strange people, then really you don't have any affinity for them. But suppose you go there and you see 100 of your own relatives. When you go in a strange place, suppose, of course some people say, oh my God, they are here also. Okay, forget relatives. Wrong example. Suppose you go to Argentina, right? And you're eating all of these Argentinian food, you know, you don't eat, not like your food, terrible food. Because those countries and all which have this old European culture, they only eat meat, you know.
Right.
And you're eating, and then suddenly, in the middle of that Buenos Aires or something, you see this really wonderful Indian restaurant, and they have masala chai also. Yeah, but, no. And then you go there, you see Indian people inside also. Right? Then how do you feel now? Oh, so happy, isn't it? Because this is, you see yourself, because you're Indian there also. Indian, oh, and the same type of food and everything which you like, it is there. In other words, when you see anything familiar, you get a lot of happiness, joy it brings. Especially, suppose Neil Armstrong. Suppose you are Neil Armstrong, you go on the moon, and as soon as you reach on the moon there, Sindhi chai dukan. Because you see, these Sindhis are everywhere, wherever you go. Even on the moon also, if you go, there will be chai dukan there. So, when you reach there, in that place, you become so happy because you see something familiar. In the same way, if I discover God in me, and me in God, then, like that, I realize that God is in everything. Now, how you will dislike? You will love everything, just like you love something familiar there, That familiarity makes you love everything. You will not shun. You will not shun it or avoid it, we will embrace it. Therefore, Mahatmas embrace all the whole world. Sanatan Goswami Maharaj, he was there in Vrindavan one time. So he went there outside and he begged, and somebody gave him 1 pound of flour, atta. So he came back, he was living in a little hut, and he made that chapati and put it in that tawa and he put that chapati here, and he was making second chapati. When he put the second one, he noticed the first one was missing. He looked, he didn't see. Anyway, Mahatma, he just kept the second one and he was making the third one. Then when he put the third one now, he found the second one is missing. Then when he looked up well, he saw a dog running away with the chapati. And he had a little dibba here. He took up a dibba and he ran after that dog. Hey, Bhagwan, come, how can you take a chapati without ghee? He ran after him to give him some ghee. I like that because he sees Bhagwan in himself, he sees Bhagwan in chapati, he sees Bhagwan in dog, everything he sees, Bhagwan. Poor Bhagwan, how you eat that chapati? Because the chapati will break your teeth. You wait. And he ran there to give him some ghee. See, like that thing. He sees the Lord in all things. You see the reality in all things. So, Naviju Gupsate, in other words, when he says, you cannot shun or despise or hate or any such thing, but you can only love all things. Everything in the universe becomes a lovable thing for you. You see? That is the idea. Alright, now this is a good place to stop also. Where that sadhak pursues this path very ardently, very nicely, and he comes to discover himself in all things. And all things in him, so Atmani, in the self, in one's own self. Alright. Can't finish this Upanishad, that is it, that is there. But this is what the Upanishad continues into. There's going to be, then there will be a little bit of a ritual and all that kind of thing as you go along. Okay, but the Lord is all this and much more than this also. We remember that. Okay, maybe we can have a couple of questions and then we could close up. If there's anything which came up.
I was, reading a little further.
Yes.
And there's thing about Vidya and Avidya.
Yeah, that's very confusing thing.
Right.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you can, talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. Like I told you, many times the Shastras use words and we have to give, according to the Sampradaya, some interpretation to those words. There's one more thing which could have happened, and that is sometimes between the two verses and all, one verse could have been missing because it is so old, and it's coming down through an oral tradition.
Right.
And then history is a very rough thing. History has ups and downs, and so if you have a part in history where there was a decadence, where really the ashrams had failed to memorize it properly, or somebody who knew it properly by heart, he died in a war, because there was always attacks, invasion, this, that, all kind of thing, right? So that person who knew it well, how it used to be structured was like this. See, the Vedas are so vast, right? So Gautam Rishi is there, Atri Rishi is there, the Shringi Rishi is there, all the different rishis are there. They were responsible for memorizing a certain portion. So this ashram will memorize this portion and teach it to students by heart. This ashram will memorize another portion. So one ashram would have been responsible for memorizing this. So then when you have all this invasion by Mongolian people, you have invasion by Arabian people, so many different type of people, you have invasion coming, right? You don't know, sometimes they're passing in a certain area, they kill out everybody in that ashram. So that person who is supposed to remember, he is gone. Then they may have taught it to somebody else over there, and that person perhaps remembers some of it and not all of it. So it is possible that we lost certain verses and all like that because of all the vagaries of history. No, when it comes there also, like Gandhi was saying, even if one verse survives, you can rebuild the whole thing. So in the Upanishads, there are many words which are used and have specific meanings in specific contexts, and sometimes we don't know because some verse is missing, some sampradaya is missing, sampradaya die out, all sorts of things like that. So I'll give you some examples. How words can mean. In Gita, at one place, Brahma word means Vedas. Now sometimes Brahma word means the absolute reality, most of the time. But at certain portion, Brahma word will mean Vedas. So here also now we have Vidya word and we have Avidya. So those will take specific meanings based on context, history, this, that. So here the Vidya word is reserved for rituals. All the rituals are they are called as Vidya, but it's only in a specific context. And avidya could also mean anything. Avidya could also mean it is path of jnana which we are following. So vidya could mean ritual, avidya could mean the path of jnana. How it will mean path of jnana? Because hint is given in Vivek Chudamani. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, after we have studied all of this Upanishad, Shastra, this, that, right? Then they are all used to point to the reality. Upanishad is not reality. All the knowledge which we are collecting, that is not reality. They are only used to point to the reality. So once I have found the reality, all of these Shastras, they become redundant. They become useless. So at that point, they become avidya. So even all Upanishad become avidya. Like that. Now see how the word takes on a different meaning. Like that. And Vidya, the student has to, when he goes there, he is a Vidyarthi. First he has gone there. He takes Upanayana and he is taught all of these rituals. So for him that becomes Vidya. So all of the rituals and all become Vidya. So that word will change its meaning as we go along. When a person has found the reality, all these Upanishads which we were calling Vidya before become avidya. Useless. Now reality is the important thing. Like that.
Sorry, macroscopic aspect of avidya is called Maya.
Correct. At the ordinary level, individual level like this is called avidya. At the highest level called Maya. Just different names. Whether macroscopic or microscopic, the quality of Maya is same. Ignorance is ignorance.
Illusion.
Yes.
Swamiji, if you look through the Upanishads, all of the religious texts, it's so logical about the existence of God and all.
Yes.
How come then the offshoot of Hinduism, like Jainism, Buddhism and all, how did that happen when the universal truth is one and the same? why this branching off took place. What was the reason for some of those things? Like, where was the need for Jainism? Where was the need for Buddhism?
That's what I was telling just now. Really, this whole thing is about perspective. Perspective means the way I am looking at things. And if a person's perspective is not all-encompassing, if his perspective is one-sided, you will end up with this thing. But that's how human beings are. Human beings are always on one side. They see things from only a particular perspective. That is why, see, I was born in the West. Born in a Western country here, in Trinidad. Educated in Western university and all that. I never had an opportunity to be born in India, to see the culture and all that, right? I'm born in a Western country and educated in Western education and all that. But after going through all of Western philosophy and going through all of the things which are taught in the West, I finally settled down in Vedanta, because Vedanta is the only place where you are encouraged to see things from all perspectives. In the West, that is not encouraged. They only see things from their own perspective and they deride anything not Western. But in Vedanta, we are encouraged to see things from a Muslim perspective, from a Christian perspective, from a Jain perspective, from a Buddhist perspective. And we know that all of them are only looking, they may only see from their perspective. They don't care about our perspective. But we, in Vedanta, we say no. We should learn to see from every perspective. Now see, the universe itself is structured in a certain way that it necessitates that we have Jainism, we have Buddhism, we have all of this. Perspective is a very subjective thing. I'll show you. This watch is here, right? I'm sitting and I'm looking at the watch from this direction. You are sitting and looking from that direction. So two of us are seeing the same watch, but it could never appear the same. Because I'm seeing these two little knobs on the side. And where you are sitting, you cannot see these two little knobs. We say we are seeing the same watch, but you could never see. Now suppose I move from here and I go there. And I tell you, come and sit here. And now see from my perspective. The nature of the world is, you will never be able to sit in the exact same place which I am sitting. You will sit a little bit this side, a little bit that side. Second thing, my eyes and my understanding will always be different from yours. So even if you find the exact spot where I am sitting and you look, still again, because you have different eyes and different understanding, still again you will see difference. You could never see, no two persons can see the exact same thing in this world. Because no two persons can be in one and the same place, and no two persons can have the same eyes and same mind and same understanding, same past. The way I see this now will be dependent on all the things I have learned in my past and all the things I have experienced in my past. That will color my eyes, and with those eyes I will see this. But you cannot be the same. The universe is like, it doesn't allow two people to see exactly the same thing. There is no repetition in this universe. Now, in Vedanta, we are saying, come to discover the one absolute reality. And if you discover that, then that is the same reality that is pervading all things. And so you will also come to see things from all perspectives. Only when we discover that, where you will be taught, will be taught only in Vedanta. No, nobody else teaches that. Jainism doesn't teach that. Nobody teaches, to discover that one reality, and so you will see things from all perspectives. So that's why I'm saying, I found the best place which teaches me to see things from all perspectives. Now, that other man, he doesn't see from that perspective. So he said, no, I don't agree with you. I will teach from my own perspective that there Jainism is born. I will teach from my own perspective that Buddhism is born. Sikhism is born. Because he's only teaching from his own perspective and he thinks that is right. The other man is not right. So we are saying, no, his is right, his is right, his is right, and mine is also Right? Who teaches this? Only Vedanta. Therefore, you're in the best place. It's just that he feels his perspective is alone right, and therefore that religion is born. So Vedanta is not religion.
Yeah.
It's a universal perspective that encompasses everybody. So as long as a person holds on to his perspective, there will always be religion. This religion, that religion. And if some of them Jewish people say they are the chosen ones. God chose them. I heard a nice thing, one man. Lord, Hitler killed so many of us. Then, still we have a home in the midst of all Arabian countries. They still want to kill all of us. Every day our people are persecuted here and there. Then, Prabhu, why have you chosen us? Please don't choose us anymore. Like that. So, anyway, he feels that he is chosen, others are not chosen. We say everybody is chosen. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyasti na prehaya gita Bhagavan tells. Everybody is chosen. You see, that is a universal perspective. That is all. His one is just a narrow perspective. So as long as people hold on that narrow perspective, you always have the birth of new religion. Every day religions are being born, In this country now, there is an atheist religion. The atheist people have come together and they have their own religion. But their religion is atheism and they have church also. On Sundays they go to church. What they do? Sit down and talk. About themselves and family and this and that. See, every day new religions are coming because people are seeing things from their perspective. We say no, we see from universal perspective. He sees and we accept him, let him, he's going along the path also. Let him go. We don't want him to come here. If he wants to come and he's ready to come, he'll come. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Acha, 11th of
they'll come down.
Yes.
So the previous 8th, 9th and 10th,
Yes, correct.
you will be
in Jackson.
So that will be my first vacation days for the year.
Oh. 8, 9, 10 times.
Huh?
So then I will fly back on 12th.
Okay.
Okay. Tuesday.
And then next year, if you are coming to Atlanta,
Yeah.
we will have the same programs here.
Yeah.
So keep that in your calendar.
Yes. That I haven't checked
Yeah.
because next year is a kind of rough year because we're having a Dharma Seva 6-week course in Trinidad and Swami Nikhil Anandji is coming there from Delhi. So that we haven't planned in detail yet. Only when that is planned, then we can see about Atlanta, then we can see about here and like that. One is dependent on the other and all like that. So once that is fixed, then I will see. Yeah.
Swamiji, you are coming for the Mahasamadhi camp next year?
Yes.
And Dallas.
In Dallas. Yes.
So, sorry, what time is the flight on Sunday?
9:10 in the morning.
Okay.
9:10 tomorrow.
American.
Yes, right. But from here it will be US Airways.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are now one.
Yeah.
Yes.